The ABA has made a strong showing that the defendants terminating its grants to retaliate against it for engaging in protected speech. The following background is drawn from the ABA's complaint, unless otherwise indicated. Over 30 years ago, Congress passed the Violence Against Women Act. Can I copy paste from this? That'd be great. I can? Holy. Okay. To enhance the investigation and prosecution of violent crimes against women, to provide support to the survivors. As part of this effort, VAWA, very petty order from someone who doesn't know what the ICJ is. Yeah, I mean, true, but as a part of this effort, VAWA established the Office for Violence Against Women within the DOJ to administer grant programs aimed at reducing domestic violence, dating violence, etc., etc. These OVW grants, which constitute cooperative agreement between the recipient and the DOJ, are awarded through extremely competitive and open application process. They are governed by the OMB, which allows DOJ, upon written notice, to terminate a grant in 3 circumstances: non-compliance with the award's terms and conditions, consistent and relevant here, pursuant to the terms and conditions of the federal award, including to the extent authorized by law, if an award no longer effectuates the program's goal. Okay. So, okay, I guess this is background. So this is for the ABA lawsuit. Okay. Authorizes the DOJ to administer grant programs aimed at reducing these. Did they ever investigate those J6 Republicans that Trump ordered? What do you mean? Did they ever investigate the J6 Republicans that Trump ordered? I don't know what your question means, if I'm being 100% honest. Okay. So these grants are governed by the OMB. Allows the DOJ, upon written notice, to terminate the grants under 3 circumstances. Sent an executive order to investigate 2 Republicans that Trump was ass mad at for saying January 6th investigation showed that he lost the election fairly. I haven't seen that. Shit, if you could in the Discord link something there, that would be great. I've never heard that. Holy, I thought I was a J6 pillar. Jesus. Oh shit, okay. I got completely lost in the sauce. Okay. In 3 circumstances. 1 for non-compliance. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I keep hitting tab instead of 1. This new keyboard is killing me. So basically just allowing them to terminate the grant upon written notice if there's non-compliance with the award's terms, or if the award no longer effectuates the program's goal. That's fair. Should probably start citing this. Getting a little lazier with citing things. It's not so good. Okay. This case is about 5 OVW grants to the ABA, the world's largest voluntary association legal professionals. The ABA established a commission on domestic violence when the VWA was passed to help the ABA play a more active role, a national leadership role, in the enhancement of the legal system's reform on domestic violence. Today, the original commissioner's successor, the Commission on Domestic and Sexual Violence, provides training and technical assistance to legal practitioners and adjudicators who work with supervisors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. Since its inception, the ABA CDSV has received training and technical assistant grants from OVW. Thank you, Hunter. It employs 7 full-time staff members to support the OVW's grant projects, 5 of whom are entirely or almost entirely funded by OVW grants. The ABA, CDSV, and the DOJ has historically enjoyed a collaborative relationship, with the ABA, CDSV providing input on new OVW grant programs and helping the OVW coordinate and plan training for award recipients at the start of each new grant cycle. Has never been found to violate any of the conditions for grant awards. Okay, I'll read the Reuters article in a little bit. Okay. We should put some lounge music on. Give me 1 second. It's a little quiet. It's a little quiet. Creative Commons. 2 hours. Yes. In my veins. Okay, thank you. The law fighting the law is outside my brain power to even assess what's a transgression. So the idea is that there are certain conditions by which the DOJ can terminate these grants that are afforded by the VAWA, and I believe the ABA is arguing that they didn't go through these processes in the way prescribed by law because they didn't. There are 3 situations by which the OMB allows the DOJ to terminate the grant, and it doesn't seem like they went through, like, any of the conditions were met by the Bar Association. That's the idea that I'm getting. And the only reason why they terminated them was for political reasons. Jesus. That sax is loud. Calm down. Skipping past this song. Okay. That's fine. Okay. But things changed after the start of President Trump's second term. Between February and March 2025, the ABA publicly criticized the Trump administration for actions it viewed as undermining the judiciary and legal profession. On February 11th, 2025, the ABA condemned recent remarks of high-ranking officials of the administration appearing to question the legitimacy of judicial review, which they did, by the way. It's page 4. God, we're going to be here for a little bit. Page 18. Holy! Judicial review is a load of bullshit. Okay. Also, just for everyone, just to make sure everybody knows, except for Localist, because I don't really want you in here. If you want to come chat, you can do it. I feel bad for making Discord noises go off. My bad. You're good. You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it. Okay. Oh, I hope I didn't just do something. Okay, so this is a very specific matter of appropriation by Congress and the executive branch acting unilaterally to impound funding. That's the story of this whole term, it seems. Kind of. The reason I'm hesitant to say that's true is because it doesn't seem like the process by which you revoke these grants are the same process by which you impound funding. That doesn't seem like it's the case. But, but it does seem like they didn't go through the lawful process to revoke the funding. That's the idea that I'm getting. So it's not technically impounding because it's not under like the Impoundment Act. Like I don't think it's the same kind of funding as like as that, but just have ChatGPT summarize this and analogize it in a way that a third grader would understand, and say you've read it. They're true. Jokes, by the way. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. I'm trying to make sure I didn't. I forgot to go back to full screen. You seem to consider the judges as the ultimate arbiters of all constitutional question, which is a very dangerous doctrine indeed, and one that would place us under the despotism of an oligarchy. True. I don't know that people who think the last 220 years of legal precedents are the people that we want weighing on these issues. Yeah? Okay. Well, I didn't post anything. I didn't post anything too crazy, so we're good. We're good. Okay. On March 3rd, 2025, the ABA issued another statement decrying a clear and disconcerting pattern of targeting judges who issued decisions this administration does not agree with. March 3rd. And on the 26th, the ABA and 100 other bar organizations issued a joint session rejecting the notion that the U.S. government can punish lawyers and law firms who represent certain clients or punish judges who rule in certain ways. The ABA also joined a lawsuit in February challenging the administration's freeze on international development grants to the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. That lawsuit apparently prompted the DOJ. Holy shit, why do I keep turning this off? It seems like almost a Doge scenario, maybe, where they bypass the OPM to cut funding that wouldn't otherwise be allowed to be cut in that way. Yeah, kind of. I mean, no judge of the Supreme Court ruling can override the rulemakers challenging the rules. No judge or Supreme Court ruling can I mean, kind of? On April 9th, 2025, Blanche signed the memo. The memo explained why the DOJ had a history of engaging with the ABA, even when their positions on contentious legal and policy and social issues had been at odds. But in the light of the ABA's lawsuit against the U.S., DOJ is now litigating against an organization it was also funding. They're just mad because Rudy and the crazy one chick got their bar license removed. It could be, who is it, Powell or Ellis? DOJ is now litigating an organization against the funding, while the ABA continued to benefit from its engagement with the DOJ through boosted attendance at ABA events and legitimization of positions that are contrary to the federal government's policy. Thus, the memo went on. While the ABA is free to litigate in support of activist causes, citing abortion, affirmative action, religious exercise cases in which the ABA had filed amicus briefs, the DOJ has an obligation to be careful steward of public fisc and its employees to have conduct themselves in a manner that does not undermine or appear to undermine the department's core mission of administering justice in a fair, effective, and even-handed manner. According to the memo laid out in a new DOJ policy regarding engagement with the ABA, first, DOJ would no longer use taxpayer funds to pay... Oh, we got a noti. Pentuple rated me. Imagine that. What a goat. Thank the Lord. He even rated me while I'm streaming to Nonfon's channel. Holy. What a what a move. What a move to do that. Hey, I mean, fuck it though, it's your life. Okay. Wow, imagine that. Accordingly, the memo laid out a new DOJ policy regarding engagement with the ABA. First, DOJ would no longer use taxpayer funds to pay for any travel, bonging stuff. I assume you're Brit. Hello, Sadie. You didn't know. Well, you guys just contributed to a big non-fun viewer increase, so I hope you're proud. We're reading about the targeting of law firms and apparently the targeting of the Bar Association. A legal question. Can the president nuke Chicago? I don't know. The Trump v. US? I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Who knows? You know? Who knows? Let me think. So technically, I don't know how you would consider. I haven't watched the debate. I watched the debate like once. I don't remember how that came up. Maybe US v Trump is actually very, very, very crazy. So it's possible. Second, all DOJ employees would now be prohibited from participating in ABA-related activities while on duty or using their government resources. And third, moving forward, policy employees who serve in policy determining, policy making, or policy advocating positions, including all political appointees, would have to obtain approval from their component heads and Blanche himself before participating in any ABA event or writing, speaking, or publishing any materials in ABA-sponsored events. Policy employees who are not who were now also prohibited from holding leadership positions in the ABA or even renewing their existing memberships. The next day, the DOJ terminated all of the ABA OVW grants effective immediately, citing a change in agency priorities. It gave no explanation why the grants no longer effectuated agency priorities. Fire. At the time, the ABA CDSV, so the ABA CDSV is the section of the... Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't give an explanation of the case. I just kept reading. So what we're reading right now is the American Bar Association is suing the Trump administration for canceling grants that were meant to go to the American Bar Association and specifically their department to fight sexual and domestic violence. Those grants were obligated to be given, not necessarily to the ABA, but through Congress, through an act of Congress, something. Give me 1 second. Through the Violence Against Women Act. Basically, these grants are governed by the OMB. They allow the DOJ to terminate a grant award in 3 circumstances: either non-compliance with the award, or I don't know why it says 3. It's basically 2. Non-compliance with the grant, like the conditions of the grant, or a change in program goals. And it doesn't seem like the termination of the grant was off the grounds of either of those 2 conditions, which was probably not legal. That's what we're reading. I think the court sided with ABA on this, though. So that's where we're at. And we're going to keep reading. I'd imagine it's probably hard to avoid ABA activities / materials when working with the DOJ, where many people probably associate with the ABA. Yeah, I mean, the American Bar, I'm pretty sure, is like the thing that accredits most lawyers. So by the time we figure out what's official, we're already cooked. Yeah, I mean, Trump v. US was already a fucking disastrous ruling when it explicitly said that the stuff with Jeffrey Clark was protected and like protected from any judicial probe. That's fucking insanity. That's insanity. The fact that the president can just compel the attorney general to lie to states for him, and then threaten to fire him if he doesn't, and replace him with somebody who will, and the fact that that can't even be reviewed in a court. Nuts. Nutty. Crazy. At the time, the ABA CDSV had 5 active OVW grants totaling $3.2 million. Okay, so April 10th, 2025, the OVW, the ABA's OVW grants were terminated on the grounds of changing agency priorities. I know I misspelled that. Just let me. Oh my god. Just let me correct it. Dude, I remember the Jack Smith case feeling like a race against time as stuff kept being pushed back more and more. The doomer feeling when it all just stopped. Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. The fact that all of the electors stuff is just going to go completely unpunished is crazy. Which, by the way, Pentuple, if you're still here, we need to have our chat, okay? We need to have our J6 chat. I bet he's not still here, but due to changing agency priorities, but did not name one. That's here. Wait, page 18. That's absolutely not right. bet that was page 4, maybe? Page 3? Also a reminder that Trump could have deployed the National Guard on J6 and this override of states' rights proves that it wasn't Pelosi's fault they weren't deployed. Yeah, true. Oh my god, yeah, true. Okay. The ABA had previously received 2 additional grants that, by their own terms, ended on March 31st, 2025. DOJ canceled all unobligated balances remaining on the 7 awards, including the 2 that had already ended. According to the government, the unobligated balance of the grants was $2 million. As soon as Trump v. U.S. came out, Biden should have done every illegal thing he could officially do to the Supreme Court and make it clear to Congress that until they pass a bill saying the president is not immune to criminal charges. Nonfon got hacked. What the fuck? So I'm hosting for Nonfon while he's on vacation. That's it. I'm hosting for Nonfon while he's on vacation. LOL. Okay. DOJ did not cancel any other OVW grants. Sure. Okay. Well, if you want to DM Nonfon, let him know that I'm live. In fact, the ABA alleges DOJ assured other guarantees that their grants were safe and the DOJ remained committed to their projects. Approximately 2 weeks later, the ABA filed this lawsuit against the Department of Justice, asserting 6 claims: First Amendment retaliation, First Amendment viewpoint discrimination, unconstitutional conditions on government grants in violation of the First Amendment, and spending power. I'm seeing Nonfon later tonight, I'm telling him. Okay, good. Violation of Fifth Amendment equal protections, violation of Fifth Amendment procedural due process, and violation of the Administrative Procedure Act. Yes, he should have called their bluff with some type of smart unilateral action that forced capitulation by the court. Oh, it would have been constitutional at that point. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. It would probably depend on the action. Need the analysis. Preliminary injunction is an extraordinary remedy that should be granted only when the party seeking relief by a clear showing carries the burden of persuasion. I'm reporting to Kick, so you get fucked in the ass. Okay. When considering a motion for preliminary relief, okay, blah, 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 blah. So I think a preliminary injunction in this case would end it, right? I think this case is more, it's not closed, but it's more or less decided, right? Just kills me that they know that they're the bad guys. They know Democrats are good and Republicans are evil bastards who break laws, kind of. You have to play the game by the rules of the belligerent side until they cede back to you. I'm just on, I don't know. I'm undecided on that. I don't know. Um, Because the court finds that the ABA has made a showing that, as to its First Amendment retaliation claim, has satisfied the other factors, it will grant the motion for preliminary injunction and deny the defendant's motion to dismiss as to that claim. The court will reserve judgment on whether the ABA's other claims warrant injunctive relief or survive the defendant's motion to dismiss. Although the government did not initially contest the court's jurisdiction over the ABA's First Amendment retaliation claim, its reply brief argues because that this case involves a cooperative agreement to which the government is a party, and rewarding relief could result in the payment of money from the public fisc. The entire action belongs in the Court of Federal Claims under the Tucker Act. Therefore, the court will address whether the ABA has established a likelihood of success on whether the court has jurisdiction. I'm not super interested in the jurisdiction claim. The merits. That's where we need to be. First Amendment prohibits the government from abridging freedom of speech or press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. Accordingly, the First Amendment bars government retaliation for protected speech. Here, the ABA claims the DOJ terminated its OVW grants to retaliate against its supporting activist causes, taking positions not aligned with the DOJ, and filing suit to challenge termination of ABA federal funding for foreign assistance projects. To prevail on this claim, the ABA must show that it engaged in conduct protected under the First Amendment. Defendants took some retaliatory action sufficient to deter the person of ordinary firmness in plaintiff's position from speaking again. And there is a causal link between the First Amendment activity and the adverse action taken against the ABA. Courts may consider a defendant's contemporaneous statements when assessing retaliatory motive. Thus, while the government emphasizes that the Blanche memo did not purport to terminate any of the grants, it nonetheless is relevant because it announced new DOJ policy towards the ABA and came just a day before the grants were terminated. Okay, I don't know how to ban you. I guess like that. LOL. Okay. The ABA has made a strong showing that the defendants terminating its grants to retaliate against it for engaging in protected speech. Okay. The government does not dispute that the ABA has met the first two elements of its retaliation claim. First, the Blanche memo openly acknowledges that the plaintiff engaged in speech or other activities protected by the First Amendment. It identifies the catalyst for the memo and the DOJ's change in policy as the ABA filed a lawsuit against the United States. And it describes the ABA's history of taking positions on contentious legal policy and social issues that frequently have not aligned with the positions advanced by the DOJ and its litigation in support of activist causes. This activity is protected under the First Amendment. Second, the DOJ's termination of grant funding is an action sufficient to deter a person. Government claims it had a non-retaliatory motive for terminating the grants. They no longer aligned with the DOJ policy. But the government has not identified any non-retaliatory DOJ policies, much less explained why they were suddenly deemed inconsistent with the goals. It's page 15. The government's different treatment of the other guarantees suggests justification is pretextual. DOJ did not terminate any other OVW grants, and at oral argument, the government conceded that the other grant recipients continue to conduct similar training functions with the OVW money. Has it been appealed to the Supreme Court yet? I don't even think this has been appealed, period. Maybe it has. We'll check it out. Irreparable harm is pretty obvious. For the foregoing reasons, the court will grant the plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction on its First Amendment retaliation claim. A separate order shall accompany this memorandum opinion. Doesn't give a date of filing. Okay, so let me do some investigating. Yeah, it looks like this case is pretty much settled. I don't see any complaint on court lister, or court listener.